गुड मॉर्निंग, वेलकम टू वीलर्न। वीलर्न में आपका स्वागत है। टॉपिक फॉर टुडेज डिस्कशन इज प्रोसेस ऑफ मर्जर इंटीग्रेशन in mergers and acquisitions. Topics to be covered are introduction, integration planning, factors in post-merger integration model, implementation of integration model, post-merger integration model, political and cultural aspects of integration, HRM issues, problem in integration, 5 rules of integration process, and managerial challenges. In introduction, here in this particular unit, we will learn about key aspects of pre and post merger acquisitions and integrations. We will also take care of that it is very necessary to properly integrate acquisitions into the firm's current operating if synergy is to be created, and competitive advantage and additional shareholders value are to be resulted. The importance of effective integration process is also highlighted by argument that improving the acquisition integration process may be one of the most urgent and compelling challenges facing the business today. When we talk about integration planning जो है is a type of an action plan which takes into consideration the time frame that would work out the mechanism and mechanics of how synergies will be attained and how growth will be achieved in future. This takes care of how business will be combined to realize the value from the acquisition. The integration plan is an essential component as it provides the clarity on what needs to be done and who is going to do it. So it is two-dimensional. Who needs to do the work and how the work needs to be done. So without a proper integration and a comprehensive integration plan, important tasks are basically overlooked and efforts which are focused in the wrong areas are certainly is created both internally and externally. The importance of any integration planning must be frequently and is in many cases underestimated. So in most of the researches which are conducted, they on this subject highlighted that the poor planning of the execution phase was a major cause of unsuccessful transaction, and that was an actual area for improvement. There are certain techniques, certain integration planning activities that needs to be done. So first activity that is to be done is aligning the acquisition with existing corporate strategy. So whatever the current acquisitions or the future acquisitions are to happen, that must be aligned with whatever the current corporate strategy are. The next is the integration strategy, that the values should be integrated. The corporate strategy must be integrated. The third is value delivered objectives and target. So whatever objectives and targets are there, they should be valuable. There should be a value delivery in both the cases. The last is integration objectives and targets. Now there are certain factors in any post-merger integration model. So these factors, they contribute to the success or failures in any merger or acquisition scenario. The first factor is the due diligence. Because of lack of due diligence, there are certain mergers that are resulted as failures. So it involves a comprehensive analysis of firm's characteristics such as financial condition, management capabilities, physical assets and intangible assets. Another is financing. Financing relates to the debts which are manageable debts that could be insured in the organization. Another is complementary resources. When we talk about complementary resources, when the primary resource of acquiring the target firm, they are somewhat different, but simultaneously they are supportive of one another. This trend to create economic value to a greater value that exists when the merging firms have identical or unrelated resources. Another factor that affects the post-merger integration is friendly or hostile acquisition. Friendly acquisition, they tend to create greater economic value, whereas a hostile acquisition, they can reduce the transfer of information during due diligence and merger integration. Another is synergy creation. For foundation to creation of synergy are strategic fit. One is strategic fit, the other is organizational fit, another is managerial action, and the last one is value creation. When we talk about organizational learning, there are many people. These people should participate in the acquisition process to ensure knowledge about acquisition is being spread throughout the firm, and this isn't lost if one of the key people typically involved leaves the organization. Another is focus on core business. Cultural and management differences are more greatly magnified the less firms have in common. Therefore, constraining the sharing of resources and capabilities result in that positive benefits from financial synergies. Another is emphasis on innovation. Innovation is very, very critical to organizational competitiveness. Companies that innovate, they enjoy first mover advantage of acquiring a deep knowledge of new market and developing strong relationship. The last one is ethical concern or opportunism. The risk in mergers and acquisitions are that the information may be incorrect or it may be misleading or deceptive. So steps must be taken to ensure that the information is accurate and hasn't been manipulated by management with the aim to making performance appear higher than this is. When we discuss about post-merger integration model, a key to any successful merger and acquisition, it is to being able to take the differences inherent in two companies and meld them to create an enhanced capabilities. But the problem is often that the stakeholder focus is on the short-term benefits from mergers and acquisitions. Their focus would be on cost reductions, which results in decision made that can sacrifice long-term goals. So when companies seeks to merge or acquire and can cite more than two strategic drivers as reasons to come together, then the chances of successes are higher. But there are a lot of challenges which are present in majority of the merger and acquisition. Some of them are enumerated below. The first one is embracing the concept of change. The second is setting priorities. The third is sharing information and affecting corporate understanding. The fourth is melding cultures. Fifth is forging a new corporate identity. Sixth is determining managerial roles and responsibilities. Seventh is effective teamwork and cooperation. Eighth is combining corporate functions and internal processes. Ninth is aligning capabilities, services and products. 10th is measuring results. 11th is acknowledging the two levels of integration, and the 12th is maintaining flexibility. As far as the long-term success or failure of a merger or acquisition, there are certain steps which must be put in place. So the first step is setting priorities. When we say setting priorities, integration planning should be the number one priority once a deal has been closed, and it is the critical step in the integration process. The first is address corporate information or marketing and sales department as quickly as possible. The second is corporate image and branding aspects are very important to begin promoting the new image. The third is focus on retaining key employees. That is very essential. And the last one is focus on customer retention. This is the most critical thing to maintain because the value of the acquired company is to be maintained. The second step is sharing information and affecting corporate understanding. So the two companies, they are required to share the information and understand the nature of the new corporate relationship they have entered into. This should address issues such as what is now new company's corporate philosophy. Now what are the strategic intentions of the senior management? The third is melding culture. Cultural compatibility is very significant determinant in making a merger and acquisition transaction a success. So acknowledging cultural capability, whether it exists, should be a factor in determining whether to pursue a given deal or not. Integration can never be attaining and growth strategies never realized if the two companies, they are culturally apart with each other. The fourth stage is determining managerial roles and responsibilities. So this helps in allowing the acquired company's manager to maintain responsibilities for activities central to its core operation, will help to accelerate integration by minimizing gaps in performance or production. Ideally, the acquiring management should audit and counsel the existing management. Another is measuring results. When we say measuring results, the integration process, they must have measurable criteria to assess the progress and performance of the merger and acquisition. The last one is acknowledging the two levels of integration. The key to a prompt integration launch is focusing on the similarities which are inherent in each organization and then to build and further progress on them. So the successful integration is, and its key is identifying the similarities which are inherent in each organization and then building on them while maintaining a discipline but with a flexible approach. Isolating common factors and focusing on similarities provides the essence to the growth planning approach. When we talk about political and cultural aspect of integrations, cultural compatibility is very significant determinant when we talk about a successful merger and acquisition target. So acknowledging whether cultural capability can exist should be a factor in determining whether to pursue a given deal or not. Integration can never be attaining and growth strategies can never be realized if the two companies, they are culturally very apart. So the alignment of culture can be achieved through sharing of information and by emphasizing on the similarities and ignoring the dissimilarity through a proper and effective communication. Organizational culture, by some analysis, it has been identified as a key determinant of the outcomes achieved as a result of Daimler-Benz acquisition of Crystal Corporations. Furthermore, if we discuss, in some countries, the host government provides strong and very strong incentives to foreign firms to use joint venture as a mode of entry into their market. Another reason why joint ventures are formed, it is to gain rapid access to new markets. Learning is another objective behind many international joint ventures. So by partnering with local companies instead of entering a market on their own, foreign companies or firms can more quickly develop their ability to operate effectively in the host country. International joint ventures also operate and they provide a means for competitors within an industry to leverage new technology and reduce cost. When we say some HRM issues, they are very critical to the success of equity-based cross-border alliances. But they may be less central to the success of alliance. In an equity-based cross-border alliances, however, long-term success is impossible unless HR issues are managed effectively. So more specifically, when we talk about the focus on international joint ventures and international mergers and acquisitions. An international joint venture is one type of equity cross-border alliance. So alliance partners, they form a joint venture when they create a separate legal organizational entity representing the partial holding of two or more parent firms. So in international joint ventures, the headquarters of at least one partner is located outside the country of the joint venture. Joint ventures are subject to the joint control of their parent firms. When we talk about problems in integration, there are 4 common challenges in managing acquisition. The first challenge is ensuring that acquisitions support the firm's overall corporate renewal strategy. The second is developing a pre-acquisition decision-making process that will allow consideration of the right acquisition. The third is managing the post-acquisition integration process to create the value hoped for when acquisition was conceived. The fifth one is fostering both acquisition-specific and broader organizational learning from the exposure to the acquisition. When we talk about the rules of integration, there are basically 5 rules of integration. The first one is starting the PMI process early. PMI means post-merger integration. So, integration here should not start when the deal is closed and the contract signed, but it should begin much earlier. The benefits of starting lies in being well prepared for potential risk and challenges and in assessing the target's company culture. The second rule is the integration manager. Here, looking at the key players of an acquisition, there would be due diligence teams from all across the areas, be it HR, finance, tax or technology, and one or more top managers are responsible for the acquisition. The due diligence team during the acquisition must have gained the best insight into the target company, which is usually dissolved or moved to the next acquisition. The third rule is speed. The faster the integration takes place, the earlier the company can profit from the envisaged synergies. The fourth one is the people problem. A merger will only be successful if key people of both the companies can be retained. Otherwise, the value of the transaction is seriously deteriorated and eroded. After identifying the key people, it should be evaluated what motivates them and then acted on this knowledge. The fifth rule is keeping culture high on agenda. No two companies are alike, not just in what they do, but also in the way they get things done. This has its root in what is called corporate culture. Corporate or organizational culture contains observable and unobservable behavioral rules, norms of work organization, and philosophies determining the internal hierarchy. Managerial challenges. Integration planning and execution typically take the shape through a financial lens, and appropriately so. The problem with this is that many of the heavy-duty merger success factor revolve around the soft stuff, which does not lend itself readily to hard financial matrices. There are problems with this, that many of the heavy-duty mergers, they revolve around the soft stuff. The first one is financial executives. They perhaps even more than the people in human resources should be champions for an integration effort that respect the influence culture, political and personal issue. The second is calculate the potential cost associated with not managing the stuff effectively. Studies have proved that people or cultural issues can wreck a deal. The third is cultural problems are conveniently blamed when mergers go bad. But usually what happens, executives give culture little more than lip service during integration. So treatment of culture as a make or break issue from the beginning and make the investment of money and true expertise needed to deal appropriately with cultural differences. The last is engineer some early wins which diffuse the critics and resistors by showcasing evidence that merger is rapidly bringing benefits. Exercises for you. Explain the importance of political and cultural aspect of integration, and what are the various factors in post-merger integration model. Thank you and have a nice day. Keep learning and relearning.